Hello and welcome, everyone. We are in the month of November, which is gratitude. And for this month, Spirit asked me to invite my dear friend Cynthia on with us today to talk about gratitude. Now, keep in mind, this was when this whole program started, was back in 2023. And Spirit kind of gave me the names and the themes for every month. And it's been an interesting year, and they've all kind of fit in perfectly. Um, I'm so honored to have Cynthia here today. She kind of has been pushing back, like, Paige, I'm not sure I should do this. And I've been like, yes, yes, yes. So I'm so excited she's here with us today.
Thank you.
I know Cynthia on many different levels because for those of you that know me, I've talked about how I am a theater person, and then I was a spiritual person, and for a long time I kept those little doors separate. And I was like afraid to talk about it with different people and trying to figure out who I was and all of that stuff. And Cynthia is a parallel, a mirror to that. And we have met in both worlds and surprised each other in both worlds that we are both in this world together. We've done community theater together. She's a wonderful actress. She's an excellent stage manager and producer and get everything doneer. And she's also read my cards. We've done readings together. So I'm just so honored that she's here today. Um, Cynthia, do you want to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your bio and what you do?
Sure. Hi, I'm Cynthia. Um, well, I had a store for almost 8 years and I taught psychic development classes and ran events and psychic fairs and things like that. Um, I grew up in New England, running through the forests and swimming in the lakes in
Mm,
Massachusetts with sort of the whispers of the Native Americans in my ears. I went
mm.
to this really cool summer camp, and all of the tribes were named after the Native American tribes. The Apaches were the really little guys. You worked your way all the way up to the Neshoba Indians, which were sort of the Indians in the area I grew up in. So I always felt really connected to Native American spirituality, indigenous spirituality. I think that's one of the things that started me with
Mm.
spiritual paths. And then my mother loved the seasons. Well, she still loves the seasons. And every Halloween, she'd dress up as a witch. And I would, look out the window at the full moon in October, wondering if there were really witches up there. And I would imagine seeing them flying, past the moon, the full moon on their broomsticks. And I could
Mm.
really relate to that archetype. I went to a really amazing school on the East Coast, and our town had a lot of history in it related to suffragette, spiritualism, and
Mm.
Underground Railroad, which
Mhm.
those three things are very connected. Those
Yeah.
circuits were very connected back in the day. Um, and I served on a spiritualist church for a little while as a hands-on healer and board member with the wonderful Cycles of Spirit in Keene. And so through the years, I've just sort of been gleaning my knowledge. I'm a Gemini, so I like to know a little bit about everything. Really connected with crystals. I love to work with crystals. I have a ton of them that I love.
Mhm. Some you gave to me that I still keep. I
Oh,
actually found the little bag that you gave me, and I was like, "Oh, it's perfect. I found these today. They're from Cynthia.
it's
They came
interesting.
out today to say hello." And crystals do that. Like they're like little friends that pop up to say hello.
Sure do. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's, I mean, if that gives you a little bit of an idea of who I am. I'm a performer too. So, and like you said, you try to keep those two worlds separate because one is sort of serious. Your spiritual path's very serious and you don't want people to think you're acting or faking it. And,
Mm-hmm.
and acting, I consider a real craft. I've worked really hard to hone my craft to be believable and to really find my intentions and act through my intentions, setting my intentions
Mm.
and portraying my intentions, and so I consider that a sacred craft, and that's to me is fun and a wonderful, almost livelihood. I wanted to be a professional when I was young, but I ended up sort of gravitating the other way and opening a store. My mother was a shopkeeper. I think we have shopkeeper blood, as
Hmm.
Patty Newton used to say in Vermont at her place. Shopkeeper blood. She had a little shop, Silver Moon, I think it was. And so, Yeah, so that's sort of who I am. And now I'm in semi-retirement, but I like to read. I read at the Celebrate Samhain Festival this past October, which is like the gathering of the tribe,
Mhm.
and a sacred time. So I was really honored to be able to read for the first time there because I've been vending there for a few years. And I attended almost since its inception when it started as a little festival in Peterborough almost 18 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and I
You've
love,
really anchored in the light in this community for
I
a long
really
time.
thank you. I tried to really bring the light, and when I moved here, I just thought it was an amazing, beautiful place. I had lived in the Virgin Islands for 12 years. I was a travel agent and hotel concierge, and I sang in a rock band, and I did community theater and all this great stuff. And so when I came back to this area. I grew up in Massachusetts, actually, but I came to this area because my mom had remarried and located here. So,
Mm,
and I've never looked back. I think this area has the best of everything, the
yeah.
mountains and the rivers and the fertile soil and the people and the snow, which is beautiful. I love all the seasons. That's the one thing I like. You can just revel in the seasons. And I'm really
Mhm.
very much a seasonal person. Um, I'm such an air sign. I'm a triple air sign. So I really have to anchor myself a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's funny, you were when you were talking, one of the things you mentioned was, because we've been in both circles, both theater and, spiritualist, and, um, you mentioned that theater for you is a sacred art, and I just kinda wanna touch and talk on that a little bit because I feel like you get my vibe, so this would be a great place to talk about it. The journey for me, being an actress, was the first place that I felt like I could connect into some of my magic. You know what I mean? Like, I am a channel. And for me, acting is channeling. And the exercises of being able to connect your voice and your body and really connect, feeling your body and being the embodiment of that, for me, because I was so emotional and all over the place, like, acting just grounded me and centered me, and I could put on this energy and tap into my magic, and I could channel for other people, and I could get lost in this other world. And people, it was hard being in the regular world in a lot of ways because I felt more alive on stage than I was in real life, because when I was on stage, I had a mission, I had a script, I had a story I was telling, and I knew the tools to tell them. And then as this, wayward little, rising magical witch that I was, I didn't really understand all the things that were happening to me. That the messages of spirit, and I always looked at it as God, as divine, which it is, but it also frightened me. And it took me a long time to be able to start really exploring my spiritual side and realizing that all of these dots were connected. They were all part of who I am. And the new phase that I'm in right now is the yes and phase, where I'm like, yes, I am both theater and spiritualism, because for so long, and it was that fear, you mentioned it, oh, I don't want people to think I'm acting, because I had a trauma, actually. This came through for me a couple times, and it's been reincarnated in a couple different lifetimes too. But I was at a court trial when I was in high school. I was testimonying at my sister's divorce trial, and the lawyer uh, brought up that I was an actress and that I was not a credible witness. And
Wow.
and
Wow.
that seed for me frightened me to this. So, and I locked down my truth, I locked down so much, because I think that the things that I felt in that moment, that young 15, 16-year-old girl of me felt like, oh my God, people don't trust me, I'm not trustworthy. And all of a sudden I had to unravel that, and I'm still unraveling that here. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that theater people, for me, I want to be around because we can't lie, because we're
Yeah.
truthful.
Right.
That's And like, when I really find someone who is a theater person, I find that they're the most honest people because they wear their hearts on their sleeves. And it's the people who tend to not like actors and arts and performers, and they call us acting and liars. And there's this duplicity, this mirror, this reflection that happens. And that's when you start unraveling and you start really connecting into who you are. You start being able to see your truth and how the words, the spells that other people cast over us, right, are untrue.
Gosh, everything you say, I'm resonating with. It's very profound and it's
Mhm.
so true. I mean, and look at all the hubbub about, oh, those Hollywood elite and actors think they're, they deserve special treatment, and they lump us all together like all these actors, they're bad. And it's like, no, there's a lot of really good, hardworking actors out
Mhm.
there who are in it for the art and the craft and the storytelling and the important storytelling.
Mhm.
No, we have to tell these stories in the theater arena so that they are easier to digest for people who are having trouble with a concept, who don't understand something. You can see it in a theater arena, and it's not real life, so you can take a look at it objectively, and it helps people to come to terms with things when they see things in the theater. Uh,
Yes.
Death and loss and all sorts of things that they don't want to examine in their daily lives. And theater brings that home. And I would challenge those people saying, "Oh, actors are all no good," to go a day or a week without TV or movies or music. And as you
Mhm.
know, I'm a singer too. And
Yeah.
talking about channeling, I've been told I'm a channel, and my husband finally got me a book on channeling.
Oh, yeah.
I sometimes feel when I sing, I've had a couple of instances where I've all of a sudden let go, or it's not even a conscious letting go. It's just all of a sudden you feel as if it's an effortless flow where the
Mhm.
singing is just happening. It's coming through you, like you just spoke about acting, and you're in this flow and you just feel like it's coming through you and that spirit coming through you
Mhm.
and
Yep.
it feels effortless and smooth and perfect. Every note's perfect, right? And those times are infrequent, but they're frequent enough that they really make you go, "Wow, I'm gonna keep doing this because that's."
Have you watched the Disney movie Soul yet?
No.
Oh, it is so good. And so the premise of the story is a soul dies, right? And then they're trying to get back to their body, and there's this, it's amazing. You have to watch it. I love Disney because it slides in all these really, really deep things. But in
Mm,
this movie, there's this place called the Muse, and they show actors and athletics, right? There's like the basketball person who's like in the Muse. That's like when you
yes.
merge and into that, I call it the bliss phase. Like when you merge into that space of joy, just pure bliss, that
Mm,
when you're singing or acting, the rest of the world just melts away and you're completely in focus. But
it's
they,
effortless.
they made a joke too that in that moment you could be distracted easily. And then you're like, wait, who am I? Where am I? What's happening? And they made a joke about how when actors lose their lines on stage, it's because it's because someone from the spirit side was like, like it's so funny because I felt that. And, when I was watching, I watch these movies with my kids, and I'm always trying to be like explaining to them, like, okay, so this, that really, this is channeling and this is spiritualism, and I let them watch it and experience it too. But it's just so wonderful to see that these things, these messages are coming out now, and we're talking about them and we're experiencing them.
I'll have to check that movie out.
I've got all I one of these days I'm gonna start doing posts about like all the hidden messages of all the Disney movies, because like I watch everything from the eyes of spiritualism, right? Like try to figure out like what is it teaching me? What is it telling me? What's the message here? And so I it's fun to kind of just see how the world is starting to be aware of healers and what we do, and it's becoming a little bit more mainstream. And it's funny because I choose these two roles, right? Theater and then spiritualism, both of which people look at like you're crazy. Oh, that's a crazy weird actress. She's a liar. There was that whole story that I was unraveling. And then as a spiritualist, I work in the light and I work with divine, and then people are like, "Oh, she's bad and she's evil and something's wrong." And I keep thinking like,
It's the feeling though. They don't get it. It's the feeling. When
Yeah.
you do the work, you are connecting in, you're going, you're going in to go
Mhm.
and out. You have to go
Yes,
in,
exactly.
going right over. You got to go in. It's an inside job.
Yep.
And you're full of love, you're full of light. Like you probably, I don't start any kind of spiritual work until I envision that white light.
Mhm.
I'm in that white light, and
Yep.
that's when I know I can start.
Yep.
And any messages I ask for, to receive nothing but love and light, not to
Yep.
experience anything that isn't mine or anything I shouldn't see. And I ask just the best messages of love and light to come through. And when you have something coming through that is of love and light, there's no
There's
mistake.
no doubt. My brother, who's not very into this, said something to me. He was like, "Well, people that do Reiki and things like this, they can tap into really negative things." And I was like, "You're not wrong, Craig."
Mhm,
I was like, "People that don't know what they're doing,
mhm,
when they open the door, they can step into things that are negative. But if you know how to embody the light and call in the light and work with the light," I was like, that's a completely different story. I was
yeah,
like, I was trying to explain to him that my job on this earth is to teach people how to set up that light and embody that light and call in it, so only love and light come through, right? Because we do work in a world where there is both sides. There's mirrors everywhere,
mhm,
and some people are opening it because there is a shadow aspect, and that's the part of their journey that they want to learn and experience in this life. I've always been very clear that I only work in the light.
right,
But
me too.
it was interesting though that when my brother was bringing that up and kind of, I paused when he said that, because I wanted to be like, "You're wrong," and then I was like, "Wait, no, okay, yeah, no, that's possible." But I wanted him to understand that there's so much more that's accessible in this world, because
Mhm,
my brother is incredibly intuitive. He has a discernment that I think is a psychic gift. He can tell when someone's lying. He's got that bullshit detector
mhm. Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
is just
Is he a Sagittarius?
spot on. Pisces.
Pisces. Oh, yeah, okay.
And he's had a hard life, and he's kind of closed down. He's kind of angry, you know what I mean? He hasn't quite starting to open up yet. And I love that he and I get to talk about things like this, and it always feels like a gift to me when we get to talk and open up about these other sides of ourselves that I know he's trying to figure out and I'm trying to figure out as well. As we're also healing. Our mother passed away in March this year, so that's been a healing journey for both of us. It's been a really good experience, walking that journey with him, and he's really helped me a lot. It's brought us much closer. But that's 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 the journey of life, right? We have people that come into our life and they teach us. And I feel that's the way with everyone, just like you coming into my life on all these multiple little hats that we wear and multiple little buckets. Like, that's one reason why I do this Zoom and things like this, is just because I meet people like you, and I'm just like, you're amazing. And I want the world to know about you. I mean, I think that sometimes I feel guilty when I meet this magical person and they become my friend. I'm like, everybody has to know how magical and wonderful this person is. Let me just share them out there. So when I invite you on my show, know that it's me being like, I love you so much.
I love you too. You are just so sweet. And when I heard you were coming, the director had said, "Oh, do you know this person?" And I said, "No, I don't. I've seen her name on Facebook, but I've never met her." And I was a little nervous, but I really liked you when I first met you, and I still do. You've been wonderful. And it's sort of graduated into like, "Oh, hey, come and read at the church with us, and come and be on my show." And you're a mom, and I've gotten to meet your kids. I've seen you guys, at the festivals around town. So it's
Hearing you
really nice.
sing, I'm always like, it's Cynthia.
And your kids are darling. They're very sweet, and your daughter's adorable. And
I'm very blessed.
working with her too in the show. Um, so yeah, so I feel the same way, Paige. It's like, we meet these people, they're like little bright lights. That time I walked out into the lobby and you were doing some Reiki on somebody, I think, or you were
Mhm.
doing a healing on someone.
Mhm.
can't even remember who it was. And I just remember coming and helping and just I was like, oh, she's speaking my language. And I went over and I was like holding space with you and helping for the first time there, with someone
Mhm.
like-minded. And it was so nice because I would have little moments where I would do that like in private, like, I'll go stage left and just could quickly do something, or one time some crew members were having a spat and I'm like, here's frankincense oil. You need to put this in your palm right now. Rub it in, take a little sniff, like calm down.
Mhm.
Here's a little crystal.
Yeah. And but like, I feel like that's like planting seeds. And I feel like that's what artists and healers really are, my artists, healers, and educators. Like, I have to say that if you fall in those categories, chances are we're going to be friends, because it's like the vibe of people who are healing the world through embodiment: actors, artists, and educators, right? And I fit under all three of those categories. I don't know, do you have an educator hat too?
Well, I do because I taught classes and
Mhm.
I've written a story and I'm writing a book
Oh.
and my mother was a teacher and my stepdad was a teacher and my son would be an amazing teacher. He's taught at art camp. He's
Mhm.
so he's amazing at that. So I think we're all writers as well as
So, so you're a triple threat in my friend category. Well, the
Aw.
topic for this month is gratitude. So, this is the day before Thanksgiving. I am so happy that you and I were able to find some time to just sneak away for this little Zoom here. But as it's funny, I've been so thinking about gratitude, but I've really been focusing this last couple days about not caring so much. And let me explain. I think back on years past, and I've always been stressed. Like, oh, the this and the turkey and the oven and food and the cleaning. And this year, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not
Yay.
going to do. I remember when I was a kid. My mom was a Jehovah's Witness, so the only holiday we had was Thanksgiving, and so my mom really cared about it.
Wow.
And it would always end up with fights and tears, and we were a very big, loud family. We had great times, we played board games, but I mean, everything was loud, nothing was quiet. And I over the years, I've gotten my especially when I care a lot, then I get angry. And when I'm overwhelmed, like I'm like a porcupine, my energetic just goes out and I affect everybody else's vibration. And I was kind of having a bad day the other day, and I was thinking about Thanksgiving and I was getting all stressed, and I called my mother-in-law and she was like, "We can have cereal." She's like she's like, "I don't care." And it just was the perfect thing for her to say. I was like, "We're not having cereal." But yes, and I was like, "Who's coming over?" The people who are coming over for Thanksgiving, I'm very blessed. I see them often. It's not shocking for them to be at my house. So why am I going to lose my brain cleaning? I mean, my house needs to be clean, so it's good to clean. But I'm not, and so today has been yesterday, today. I'm like, wow, isn't it amazing when you don't care? Everybody's in a good mood, and we're all having fun. I'm like, the food will get
You
made.
you
We'll figure
care.
it out.
You
It's yes,
care.
I
You've just
care.
relaxed your standards because I think, we have
Yeah.
very high standards.
Yes,
Really,
yes.
really high standards. And my son said that to me. My mother has said that to me. My ex-husband and my husband told me, you have very high standards. And, sometimes they're too high. I
Mhm.
think if you're driving yourself crazy, because I've had years like that, and maybe it's a phase that a lot of women go through. They take
Mm.
on a lot, they do a lot. We're women, we're moms, we wear those super mom hats. We cook,
Yeah.
we're cleaning, we're preparing, we're decorating, we're right, all that, and it's got to all be done. And so, I think when you look around and you see people and they're not helping in the way you want them to help because you think they can read your mind, right?
Mhm.
Why can't they read my mind? We've done this how many years in a row. They should know still have to tell people. I live with all men, so all guys, although we're recently empty nesters, both our kids just moved out.
Mm.
And so it was hard. And so I'm glad that you have realized that yes, because yeah, I came to that realization a while ago. And I actually, you don't know
It's
this.
like a new phase of my life. It feels good.
Yes, it is. You've made your life so much easier, and these people love you. They're not going to be judging you, and if they are, you don't want them there. So, right?
Ex-
Um, they're not invited next year if they're judging. But we all go through times like that. And there was something I was going to say about gratitude. I've forgotten now.
Cut
But
back.
I'm just oh yes, something you don't know about me, Paige, is that
Mm,
I do stand very, I mean, I marched against Standing Rock, and I've gone up to Concord and participated in Standing Rock events. And so for many, 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 many years now, have really not celebrated Thanksgiving.
mm,
I kind of see it as a day of mourning, almost in a way,
mm,
the way that our Native Americans are treated in this country. And I've
mhm,
given the Romero Institute. We've done fundraiser at the store for Standing Rock and the water protectors, and taking the planet seriously and protecting the
mm,
planet for 7 generations to come. And I just don't like the treatment of our indigenous elders, and their treasures, and now
mm,
we're asking them for all their knowledge because it's leaving. And who propagated that, who started that? We took away their language when we took their children. Like, and I say
mhm.
we, just meaning
Yep.
historically. um,
Mhm,
so because of that, as much as I have really beautiful memories of Thanksgiving, of being when I was a child, I
mhm,
don't do a big Thanksgiving thing. A few years ago, I took my whole family, after I closed my store, I took my whole family out to an inn because we had family visiting, and it was the first time a big group of us got together. And my mother's home she no longer had a huge home. We needed somewhere to gather. So I took everybody out to an inn, and we all did Thanksgiving dinner there, like, I don't know, 4 years ago.
mm,
First time I'd celebrated Thanksgiving in years. So,
mm,
we just kind of see it as I focus on gratitude as a daily practice every day. And
mhm,
pardon me, I told my students every year I taught a year-long class, and one of the things that was required was keeping a gratitude journal for at least 3 weeks. Um,
mhm.
and seeing what happens at the end of that in your
It's
life.
amazing what happens when you shift and do a gratitude journal.
Yeah, right. It's like it's the number one number one manifesting. I don't know if they teach that in The Secret, because I think The Secret is a cult, but
The
anyway.
Secret, no, but there's a book that came out after The Secret, which is part of The
Okay.
Secret, and that one is all on gratitude. Gratitude.
Is
The
it on
entire
gratitude?
There's like a little tiny bit about gratitude in the original Secret, which everyone knows, but the second book, which is actually really beautiful, I'll send you the PDF. If anybody wants the
Uh,
PDF, let me know.
oh, okay. Well,
Um,
I
it's
also go ahead.
no, it's a beautiful book. It's
Oh,
like
okay. I
it's
don't know about
basically got 30 days with a different gratitude practice every single day, in addition to the gratitude journal.
okay. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I also found, this is so funny, the last time I had Chinese food,
Mm-hmm.
little fortune. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. I thought that was neat.
I
When
have to tell you, I'm going to tear up a little
yeah,
bit.
go
Since
ahead.
my mom died, I've been finding Chinese fortune cookies everywhere.
No. Wow.
It's like my mom was never comfortable with any of my spiritualism at all. And I laugh at how much she is showing off,
Mhm.
how connected she is to me. Like, I've been finding, and I kept being like, where are these fortune cookies? At first, I was like, I don't even eat Chinese food. I'd find them in my purse, I find them in my pockets. And I'm like, I'd be
There
like,
are.
well,
I
have
have
I
a
really not
box.
washed my pants? Because I'm like, the first time I found one, I was like, when was the last time I had Chinese food? I was like, maybe like a year ago. And then, and then, and then I kept finding more. And it's just been, it's funny. It's so funny that that happens right now, because I was kind of wondering if it was my mom, but I wasn't sure. But the fact that you just did that, I'm like, that's my mom. Can
That's pretty awesome. I love that. Oh wow. I know this is
you
how we
read it
roll.
again?
How we roll. If we just, one time I kept writing down like all the synchronicities that were happening.
Mm,
And after a while I had to stop because it was sort of happening so many times a day. Especially when I had the store and I was really in
mm-hmm.
spiritual practice, I just couldn't believe the things that were happening and manifesting.
It's a
But
magical world we live in, isn't it?
it is, and I think people really do forget that. And
Yeah.
we're not stupid. We're not walking around going, "Yeah, we're going to manifest, a dragon right now." I mean, silly things like that. But I have a friend who once said, well, how do I know I couldn't do that? If I put my mind to it and I really practice, how do I know I couldn't make a dragon
Next
manifest?
thing you know, she's got a chicken on her front stoop.
But the thing with gratitude is my mother always said when we were little, right? Time to write a thank you note. Someone gave you a gift, you write a
Mhm.
thank you note. And I think that's where it starts, right? That little
Mhm.
handwritten thank you note is the first sign of our gratitude. And of course, praying, because of course the Bible has so much about gratitude in it. And every reader that I know just about talks about gratitude and what an important practice it is. And uh,
Mhm.
so I think it's a really
One
important
of the things,
basic principle of metaphysical work.
it's like starting your day and ending your day in gratitude. One of the things that I've been doing since my little, and the other day my daughter was like, she's like, Mom, why don't do that anymore? And I was like, well, I hope that you do that on your own. That's the whole point, of moms. What we do is we teach you things so you do it on your own. I was like, but yeah, we should do that again. Before bed, we would always say three things that made us smile during the day.
Oh, that's nice. Taking stock. I like that phrase too. Taking stock,
Yeah.
stock in what you have, who you have in your life. And it's really more important about who you have and not what you have. But what's
The
important
law, the
to
law of attraction really messed me up. There was a decade where I was so depressed because
oh,
when the Secret movie came out and the law of attraction was there, I was like all in, and I was really into the law of attraction.
uh-huh.
But the problem with the law of attraction is you're focusing so much on manifesting what you don't have that you start thinking in terms of lack.
Hmm.
And I got
Yeah.
really stuck in that track. So whenever I hear someone talk about law of attraction now, I'm like, all right, we got to shrug that off, because it's an element, but
Yeah.
it is not the whole picture. If it's more than just a vision board. It's more than just being like, I will have this, right? Because
Mhm.
and as do you do astrology too? Are you connected to that?
Yeah, I love astrology. I think it's a very cool language.
I kind of dabble in it. So you're aware of the whole, everybody's talking about Pluto and Aquarius, and that's the new phase and the new era. And
Right?
but energetically, I do feel it.
I do too. I
So
think,
it's like, I'm like, okay, I feel it.
yeah.
I'm very, I do astrology, and I'm learning more about it now because I'm so influenced by the moon and the stars that it's kind of
Mhm.
like, all right, I just got to admit I'm a star child. If everything alignment up there, it's going to affect me.
Right.
But in that regards of like, we've got this law of attraction where this old is crumbling. It used to be like, make a mission statement and you visualize it, but it's not just that. Like, it's about the little things. It's about gratitude. It's about embodiment. It's about, and I think theater teaches you that in many regards, right? Theater teaches you
Yes,
embodiment.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah,
about learning how to work in a team and create a new world with
yeah.
other people.
And always focused on what is your intention in every moment. What are you trying to get? Because
Right.
everybody's trying to get something. They're trying to manifest something, right?
Mhm.
So that's very important as well. What do you intend to do and achieve here?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. All the theater games I just think are brilliant.
Mm,
And because when you play theater games, especially if you have this background in spiritualism and God and faith and religion, whatever you want to call it, God, source, time, divine,
mm,
when you're playing these theater games, they're really teaching you how the keys and codes of living a blessed life. It's about listening, it's about intention, it's about being in a moment with someone, because especially now with everyone's phones, right? No one's in a moment with each other. And so
yeah,
when
we've forgotten about intimate moments.
we've forgotten about intimate moments, because intimate moments are now between text back and forth.
Or people consider them sexual, like intimacy is sexual. It's like, no, we can have intimate moments that are just
Mhm.
moments of pure joy and connection that have nothing to do with sex. And so
Yeah.
people have really forgotten into what intimacy is, and
Yes. Oh, so
profound
true.
connection between people that are enjoying something that they're sharing an experience of.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So tell me more about this class you used to teach where you taught about gratitude. Give us some of your nuggets of wisdom.
that was my year-long class that I did. It was called Flowing Through Cycles and Seasons in
Mm.
Eclectic Witch Practice. Very long time.
Mm.
But I taught it for 6 years, and 6 or 7, I think 7. We did go through COVID. We decided to meet because COVID started, and we were sort of mid-class, and everyone's like, "We'll keep doing it." We all came with masks. Um, and so one that was one of the things that we started with in the very first class. We talked about keeping a gratitude journal and why that was important, along with a dream journal and any type of journaling people wanted to do. But
Mhm.
the one thing, if they didn't want to do the dream journal or the daily journal, the one thing they really needed to do as a homework assignment was their gratitude journal.
And
Um,
do your gratitude journal, is it like 10 things, or what does that
you know,
mean for you? 3 minutes, 10
things.
pages?
I told people to start with 3 things or 5 things, depending on what they had the time for, because I acknowledged that people had, have busy lives. And a lot of
Mhm.
people were fitting this class in. It was a nighttime class. They were fitting it in between 1 and 2 jobs. And so, I tried not to, I wanted to give homework because I think you learn that way with a little
Mhm.
home project. And so I didn't, that was one of the things I felt very strongly about, was they really needed to do that. So, and I told them when they signed up for the class what was required. They got a syllabus, and we were told what was required of them and what we'd be doing every month, what our topic was every month. And usually that was the November topic. And I usually started the class in August, September. So it worked nicely to, doing that. What else? We taught psychic skills. I'm very seasonal. I really work
Mhm.
seasonally. Living in the Virgin Islands for 10 years, went from, green to brown to green to brown. Beautiful shades of bougainvillea flowers and hibiscus, but if you're used to the seasons, you really miss that. So when I came back
Yeah.
here, I really was so grateful for the seasons, because I feel a lot, I really feel alive with the
You
season.
can move with the
All
time.
equally.
Yep.
And I think that the deck that I read with is all about the cycles of
Yeah, it's a beautiful deck.
life, death, and rebirth. And so it is
Mhm.
totally those cycles and seasons of our lives and of time. And so I really connect with that. So I run my life by the moon as well. One of the one of the things in my bio for Samhain was, she is here to remind you about the moon, because I really
Mhm.
believe in working at least with the waxing and the waning phases of the moon. And so that's important to me.
Everybody focuses, including me, on the full and new moon. So what wisdom do you have for the waning and waxing?
Well, so that is more or less the same thing. So from full moon until the new moon, that's when it's waning, and then at new moon it starts to wax again up to full. And so those 2 weeks in between each is the time
Mhm.
that you draw things to you. So when the moon is growing and waxing, that's when you manifest what you need, and you bring
Yeah.
things to you. That's when I go out and I do a lot of shopping, and I order things I need. But when the moon is waning, that's when I release, I rehome, I clean, I recycle, I repurpose, I donate, I banish, whatever it is to push
What
away.
a nice way to look at it. I always kind of focus on the actual new moon and the full moon, but I like the idea of thinking I'm going through that phase in my life. I'm trying to figure out my hormones all over again. And so I I've really been cycling and really trying to pay attention to my cycle to understand my emotions. And mainly because this last new moon, the one not it was so not this one, but the one just recently, it was so hard for me. I called out sick for like a week. I mean, I was actually sick, but it was
At the
also
morning moon, it was the morning moon, mourning as in mourning and grieving. Was that the releasing moon? You're
I,
talking about in October?
oh, was it?
I
It
think
makes sense if it was.
I believe so. I have my moon book here.
Mhm.
I
Because
can't.
I knew it was because I was close to Samhain, so I knew I was feeling everything more intently, and I knew that my mom was with me very, very, very intensely. But
Well,
I didn't think to call it as a morning moon. That would
if it's
make
close
sense.
to now, and that's, I think, early, no, yeah, the one we just had, November 1st, Friday, November 1st.
Hmm.
Right.
Okay.
Um, so
Yes, that was the one. So I was feeling that, and I could feel the grief and everything coming up. Isn't that amazing? I told you, like even if I don't understand it, I know it's all connected to the stars and the
yeah,
moon.
the full moon too was about releasing as well. Um,
Mhm.
so at this time of year, and I think we had a lot to release this
Mhm.
month. I know I did. I'm usually pretty chill and pretty accepting and pretty non-judgmental and pretty relaxed, but I have to say that I got pretty angry and pretty upset in November after the election. And I'm not
Yeah.
usually like that. I really had to process. I got very dramatic. My picture got blacked out on Facebook. It's still blacked out. I got very dramatic. I got very mad. I was
I remember I was like, "No,
keyboard warrior.
be okay." I was like, I
Yeah.
was so worried about you. I was like, "No."
Don't worry about me. I have a tough skin. I'm a drama queen.
I
And
get
I'd like
that.
everyone to know this is how
Next one to no one.
I'm gonna say how I feel. The patriarchy. Can I say that on your program? I'm
Huh?
sorry. Can I
Yes.
say it on your program?
Yes, you can say whatever you want. Nobody's watching.
I was joking around, just saying silly things, and I better just get a grip here, and nothing's happened yet. So, and I'm just taking this time to learn a little bit more about our democracy and about things I have questions on, and um, it's just an interesting time. So
Yeah.
I finally have come around to the fact we have to hold the light, and that's who I am.
Yes.
I've always been this light worker without knowing it, and
Mhm.
I'm back to knowing who I am and that I can't just fold and crumble. I had a few days of that, and I think that was probably good for me to slough it all
I think
off.
I think we all did. I think we all did. And
Yeah.
it's funny because we keep having all these different iterations in our life. And that's the thing is like we keep changing and cycling. And I know that you had your dragonfly shop for a long time, but you
Yeah.
kind of moved. You have a little stall somewhere, right?
Yes, I just got a little stall at Captain Brady's Buried Treasure, which is a
Mhm.
little thrift store,
Cute.
discount store on Route 10 in Swansea, and
Hmm.
a little booth 22, and I have some beautiful little
Good
crystal
number.
packs, yep, crystal stone packs, and handmade satin lined tarot bags, and some really cute little things, gold and silver candles for Yule, and some other cool things. You get a free stone with purchase. There's a little basket. Someone actually left that for me. I set my booth up. I just set my booth up this week, and somebody left me a couple days later. They left me a little crate of crystals. I don't know who did it. I just was told, well, they thought you might like it because you have crystals. And so I didn't know what to do with them. And I thought, well, I'll just take them home. I'll put them in my garden. I thought, oh, a little gift. And then someone said, no, you should like leave them there and like offer people a free crystal with every purchase, like as an incentive. And I'm like, what a great idea.
What
Like,
a
of
great
course,
idea.
like,
A
of
gift.
course. Like someone
Mhm.
gifted me, so I need to gift whatever
Mhm.
potential customers. So I liked that idea. So there's a little basket of crystals. And I think once those go, I might add to them and keep that going because I
I
think
think it's a great idea.
to do. So anyway, so if people are still jonesing for a few little crystal packs or little items from the Dragonfly shop, some beautiful tarot bags that my friend Jill and I design and make. Those are all there with some beautiful altar cloths. And we're going to
Mhm.
have a seasonal booth there. And so next month in January, I'm going to put a bunch of heart stones for Valentine's Day. I still have a lot of
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful heart stones. So things like that. So if anybody's missing Dragonfly Shop and they want to go over there, plus it's just I got some really cool vintage ornaments there and
Mm.
for my Yule tree, and so it's a really cool little place. Like go check it out. They've got a lot of really neat things there.
Neat.
Yeah.
And any theater in your future?
Not right now. I'm taking a little break. I did like shows, like 4 shows back to back, and I had a
Mm.
huge role in Steel Magnolias, which I loved. I think that was a good show to end on for a while. And
Mhm.
I'm not doing much. I'm just sort of pulling in for the
You were
winter
Truvy.
time. Yes, yes, I was the dream
Mhm.
time pulling in. And I was really worried about that role too, and I guess I didn't have to worry about it. I just found her. I found who she was, and
Oh,
the
good.
funny thing is, I found her not in her humor, but I found her in a line she had about her husband. And all of a sudden I realized Truvy is this, in the movie, she's Dolly Parton. And so she's, giggly and upbeat and fun and sassy. And I realized she was actually a woman who was carrying the weight of a lot. She had twin boys, a husband who didn't get up off the couch. And she made a couple comments like that. And all of a sudden I found myself getting real serious about those comments. Like, that's what the men have done to me. And all of a sudden I
Mm.
realized Truvy was kind of a little hardened, but I would maybe not hardened, but just maybe a little badly done to. But she
Mhm.
remained really positive throughout it. So that was kind of like one of those grounding
She
moments where
was an
the character's
anchor.
not, yeah, the character's not all. And I found that when I said those lines, all of a sudden I got a little angry on those lines, and I thought, there she is. That's who she really is.
Mm,
She's keeping everybody in that salon nice and copacetic, but really she's a little pissed off about some things.
mhm,
But she shoves it down to keep the status quo, to be nice, to play
mm,
nice. She keeps it stuff
mhm.
down, you know.
And
So
that's really what spiritual work does too, is like the actor learning a character and understanding it really is a small example of what we do as healers and as
mhm,
spiritual teachers, because the shadow work is acknowledging like me, okay, I'm really edgy and I can affect other people's energy when I get overwhelmed. So how can that's shadow work. That's acknowledging, being like, that's a bad part of myself. And instead of just trying to hide it or mask it, just being like, this is all right, let's understand it. Let's shed, and that's, I love that both healers and artists do that. Artists
yeah.
do it on a canvas,
It's
actors do it in the,
stage, yeah, yeah. It's sort of like energy 101, and that's
yeah.
something as an emotional young woman. You know, empaths are very emotional, right? Because they got all this stuff going on. Like, we don't know, why am I hearing voices? Like, what's wrong? Am I crazy? You know.
Mhm.
So, we
Why
go.
can't I breathe? Why is my throat closing up? Oh, it's because she's got a cough. Yes, I get it.
It's so emotional, and so people, we didn't take a class on how to manage your energy when you walk in a room and you're upset, you know, how people are picking up on that.
Mhm.
So it took me a really long time, and still sometimes I am not aware of my energy and how that affects other people, because I get passionate. I'm half Italian, so I get really passionate. You know, I talk with my hands. I get loud. I get very loud. I get very fast. My husband has to remind me, calm down, calm down. I'm like, ah, yes, yes. So they don't teach about energy. So that's still that's, I think that's one of my biggest challenges, is reining in my own energy.
Like, shining our light and
Yeah,
harnessing our light, right?
yeah,
Because I
exactly.
know it's easy, and I've seen you too, like, we give, and then we deplete if we're not
Right.
really anchored in that, and that takes a lot of, like, you have to be able to be in the moment and also planning and
Mhm.
anchoring in at the same time, so it's almost like three-dimensional chess that you're playing with
Wow.
energy instead of just, like, flying off the handle. It's, "Okay, this feeling is coming up with me. Am I gonna surf this wave right now?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes you're on the wave, and it's like, oh, I'm on this wave.
I am on this wave.
I have
Yeah.
to balance here.
Yes, absolutely. And in terms of gratitude, um, do you have any other additional practices or hints for those of us that are, actors, artists, educators, and everybody else?
I
Um,
think everyone's doing their own groovy thing, and I think
yep.
that's wonderful. And I think the main things I taught at the store are, choose love, because that there's only two things, love and fear. So
Mm,
you're going to choose two things underlying each thing, love or
yep.
fear. Um, Another thing I have to constantly remember, that heart, using your heart as a compass for everything, really connecting into the heart chakra.
That's what I call the Zoom series, Heart as a Compass.
I know, that's why I referenced it. So, but it's true. It's true. It's about connecting into that heart center and allowing that energy to guide you. And it's easier said than done. It's challenging. We're all human beings. We all are challenged and tested, and we all have times and trials and tribulations. And so it's hard sometimes to connect back to that heart center. And so I just try to do that by getting out into nature, and by being gentle with myself, not setting those standards too high. And the non-judgmental thing, I grew up sort of being very judgmental as a young woman, because of how I was raised, and I had to let go a lot of that programming. Um,
Yeah.
so there are times I slip into that again. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, and I have to step back. I love having children, because they keep you kind of like on the up
Mhm.
with things. Like, like they'll say, that's not how we do it anymore. That's not how people think about that anymore. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Mhm.
So, that challenges my thinking and keeps me young. And so my
Mhm.
advice is, just get out in nature, choose love over fear. If you have a chance to try to meditate, I think it's important. It's not about being quiet, either or quieting your mind to silence. As you know, it's just about letting thoughts come and go. And be creative, be happy, surround yourself with joy. That's the other thing we would say. We talk about joy sparks. My friend Marilyn, who was a reader for a long time at the shop, would talk about joy sparks and the things during the day that bring you joy.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really working hard and it's drudgery and you've had a lot of things go wrong, you've got to buy yourself flowers and you've got to put on joyful music and you have to turn off the news and you have to put your phone
Mm-hmm.
down. And you have to connect with people. Remember to connect with people and just find joy. So those are my advices.
I think that's beautiful advice. And I think that we should all do more of that. As we move into the energy of the new year, I just hope that we can all carry gratitude in our heart. And you brought up the Native Americans, and I just want to take a second because we're celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow. So thank you for bringing that up, and just let's take a moment to honor them and this land and this nature and this world that we have, and also just to have gratitude for our family, because you never know when you're not going to have that person at the table again.
That's at the top of my list every time is my family. Is
Yeah.
especially my husband, my children, my parents, my family, and my friends. But people are always more important. They're the number one. People and family and friends are most important in my life.
Our
Not
family is
the economy, not the price of butter. Like it's
no.
and
Yep.
their rights and freedoms. So
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on my little whatever you call it, Zoomcast podcast.
fun, Paige. That was really fun.
I told you, I was like, it's just us talking.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you want to connect with Cynthia, we are friends on Facebook. So reach out to me, and she can do readings. If you really want one with her, I can connect you. What is the name of the store in Surrey?
Oh, it's in Swansea, and
Swansea.
it's Captain Brady's Buried Treasure in
Mhm.
Route 10 in Swansea. It's the old Mrs. B's treasures.
Oh.
And if people need to reach me, I'm at my name, Cynthia Rodier at yahoo.com. If they want to email me for a crystal prescription, I like to do crystal and stone prescriptions or readings, and I do it by Venmo or donation or something like that.
Mm. And when you're in a play, we'll get the
Yes.
word out about that too. Hopefully we'll be in a play again together soon.
Oh, that would be great. I would love that.
I basically took 2024 off. I was thinking about that. I was like, I haven't been in any plays this year. So
I'm taking like 2025 off a little bit. Maybe the earliest I'll get out there is like next spring or summer. But
great.
I'm really excited because I sing in a band too, and that's really a big focus for me right now.
And you're doing great with, and
Yeah.
plug for you, you were one of the finalists on the Keen America's Got
Oh,
Talents. So shout out, this woman does have some pipes. She was doing really good at a
no, it's not America's Got Talent. Don't say that. Everyone will think I'm a bigger deal than I am. It was the best voice in Keen.
okay, well, it's Keen's version of that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you. In my own mind, I am, yes, the America's.
Yes. And if you ever keep reading your channeling books, if you ever have any questions or tips,
Yes.
let
Oh,
me know.
thank you. I will. I'm fascinated with it. So,
It's just a journey. It's really just look at it
yeah.
as an actress, really, and it will as an actor and an artist, and it will all unfold for you.
Nice. Well, have a nice Thanksgiving and hugs to your family.
All right. Love and light, everyone. Thank you for joining us. You can find me at paigelussierjohnson.com. Blessings and love. Goodbye, everyone. If I can figure out how to hit end. Okay. Bye-bye.